You know on the beat every time, though. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
What up, Man Hour Nation? Yes, you see it correctly. It's only me right now. But that is going to change tonight. So, in case you haven't figured out what we're going to talk about tonight, it's probably going to be another pretty football-heavy show. But Buck is at the game. Brandon is coaching basketball. Wyatt, he's doing whatever college kids do. So, now we had to bring my main man, my buddy, my favorite person to do the show with, Wayne G. And why are we so close to the...
You got to use the 2 little screens next to each other one. Not the 2 big screens. There you go.
There we go. I'm like, whoa. I can see up my nose. Wayne, how are you today, buddy?
Not too bad. I feel really bad for those kids getting coached by Brandon in basketball.
The man that knows nothing about basketball, coaching basketball. It's like it's a middle school version of Ted Lasso.
He's probably yelling at the kids right now. Where are your pads?
That's not how you hip check somebody. Yeah. Well, so Buck stopped by my work because he didn't have a Packer jersey, so I had to give him a Packer jersey on his way through. And he's on his way up to the game, and I'm sure Wyatt's like got school work, which is really he's watching the game while some of us are here doing our job.
Yeah, here I am carrying the show as usual.
Carrying it again. Speaking of carrying it, Wayne, why don't you give yourself a shameless plug quick before we get started?
Oh, sure. We are all part of the Belly Up Sports Network, so check out bellyupsports.com. You can not only find all of our shows, but you can find all of my great blogs about basketball as well. They are fantastic. I encourage you to read all of them. And you can find me on Twitter at SportsInfinity5. I do reply, so feel free to crap on my blogs, but you would be dead wrong.
And as he said, we are now part of the wonderful Belly Up Sports Group. We are airing on 96.1 Big X. We are airing over in the UK, as Buck would say, drinking our tea and drinking our crumpets. So we're slowly but surely expanding. So if you guys don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you go over and you subscribe to Sports Infinity as well. Make sure you hit them up on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter for _Torry. We just want to get 10,000 likes. Just not many. Just 10,000 likes on the show. I'm just kidding. If we get 10, I'll be happy.
Hey, if Cardi B can get 3.2 million, we can get a couple.
I don't even know who that is. Does that show how old I am?
It does.
I don't know who that is. I really don't.
You can find her on the jukebox for a nickel.
In my day, I could get a soda for 25 cents and return the bottle, and it only cost me 15. So another action-packed weekend. We got obviously my Green Bay Packers about to take on the Detroit Lions tonight. So let's get into a little football. We had a pretty good game last night between 2 pretty good AFC teams. So AFC, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens lived up, I believe, to everything it was kind of expected to be. Are these the 2 best teams in the NFL, Wayne?
No, it's not even close. The Chiefs, you can make a case for absolutely. Their offense is unbelievable. They've got an athletic defense. I don't think it's a great defense, but I think the best teams in the NFL are coming out of the NFC. And you've got the LA Rams, you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both those teams are better than the Ravens. I like Lamar Jackson. I made that clear on Thursday when I was on the show, but that Ravens team, they just don't have any offensive weapons for him. I know Marquise Brown played okay, but I just don't think that they have enough to get over the hump. They're not a team that's even going to make it to the AFC Championship. The Chiefs will, but not the Ravens.
You heard it here. Wayne said the Ravens won't even make the playoffs.
Well, not that.
I'm using Buck talk because that's what Buck would have heard. Buck's like, the Ravens are going 1-16 now. You heard Wayne G say it.
Well, they got the one anyways.
That's why we call it Buccaneese. You just gotta learn to speak it. Yeah, and I agree. They're not the two best teams in the NFL. The Buccaneers right now are so head and shoulders above people right now. It's not even funny. Like, it looks like they're toying with people. It's like, Oh, it's a close game. I guess we'll play now.
I don't know how somebody can watch Tom Brady at the age of 44 go out there and throw for 379 yards and 5 touchdowns and not think he's the greatest of all time.
That debate was over 10 years ago. Anybody that debates is an idiot. Like, as much as I hate Brady, you can't deny it. You can't deny greatness. And he's got it. He's done it all. There's probably going to be never another quarterback. The one thing that we got to witness, I think to end all debates, we literally got to witness the greatest of all-time quarterback play in the NFL. There is not going to be another quarterback that does that type of stuff in the NFL.
So I never say never and I never say always, because there's always somebody who comes along that shatters the never. No one was ever going to break Lou Gehrig's record, and it's just, and it shouldn't have happened. And by all logic, it shouldn't have happened, but it did. And so I don't want to say there'll never be another Tom Brady because, Mac Jones could win 10 Super Bowls the way he's playing right now.
Come on now. He still looked like a rookie quarterback. Who he didn't look like was Zach Wilson, that's for sure.
Ugh, Zach. I don't know any host on any sports show that thinks Zach Wilson's any good.
Except for Buck and Brandon. Like,
any good host.
Yeah. Like, I have been banging that drum since the college football season ended. I'm like, he had one good year. There is not enough tape. They went way too high for him. And I actually got into it with a couple of Jets fans on Twitter because I was all over me with my Zach is trash talk. And I was all over it. And they're like, we're the greatest team ever. We got the best team. I said, time out. Whoa. I'm not saying you don't have a good young roster. I'm not saying you don't have a Robert Saleh is not going to be a head coach. You're going to be a good team, but it's going to be with somebody other than Zach Wilson at the quarterback position.
I don't even know then. I mean, I had just had this discussion on my show. I said, as much as, and I'm not as down on Zach Wilson as you are, because when you think about Joe Burrow only had one good year as well. There wasn't enough tape on him as well. But I think that Joe Burrow was legit, and I think he's actually better than Zach Wilson. But the point is that even if Zach Wilson is that kind of quarterback, you're on the Jets. You're in the same division as the Patriots and the Bills and the Dolphins, whose defense is stout, and they have a young Tua as long as he's not hurt. So you're looking at least 3 or 4 years before you can even get, third from last, and then or second from last, and then what? Then you re-sign Zach Wilson to a long-term deal, and then you guys finish in the bottom again for another 4 years, and it's not his fault. You're just the Jets.
As I like to say, Jets, Jets suck.
Well, that's accurate.
I mean, what did Terrell Owens? If it looks like a rat, smells like a rat, walks like a rat.
I've always heard duck. He used rat. That's funny.
I think he said rat. I'm pretty sure he said rat when he was referring to Garcia there, but which is, I don't know. That's a whole nother topic for another day about T.O. I mean, I think we could do an entire show on who is T.O. and does he deserve to be in the Hall.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw it or if it's on tonight. I didn't get a chance to read through the rundown, but did you see? Is it Marcellus Wiley? Was it that had his top 10 players in NFL history, and he had Terrell Owens as the best receiver of all time?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep.
What is wrong? Although Marcellus is not the best sometimes. No. I mean, it's like having Booger McFarland calling games.
He had Bruce Smith as the best defensive end of all time, and he had Junior Seau as the best linebacker of all time.
The thing is Bruce Smith, at least there's a debate between him, Reggie, and Deacon Jones in my mind.
I mean, I think it's Reggie Head and Shoulders.
The way Reggie literally transformed the game because the guy had every move and could play every spot on the defensive line. Like I said, I would throw Deacon Jones in there too because we don't know how good Deacon Jones was because they didn't keep track of sacks then.
Just like Wilt Chamberlain, they keep track of the steals and the blocks.
Right. Ask Wyatt. So
they kept track of cigarettes.
How anybody can say Jerry Rice is not the greatest receiver of all time, I don't know. That's just asinine to me.
So I've said it because I'm saying, obviously, from an accolade standpoint, you can't argue. It's got him and nobody else. But I'm looking at it from, you guys like to use the eye test. Megatron's the best receiver I've ever seen. I mean, he was just stuck in Detroit. If you put him on a better team,
Let's the eye test. That's Brandon's thing that he goes to when he starts losing an argument.
Well, that's why I differentiate the best I've ever seen and then the best, statistically. So.
Right. Yeah. And for me, the best I've ever seen is Randy Moss. Like head and shoulders above everybody. But statistically, Rice is dominating. He's got everything that you look for. The man was 37, still putting up numbers for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think he had 2 catches after the age of 40.
Yeah. That's just, it's unprecedented and it's ungodly what that man could do on a football field, even at his age. Even when he left the Niners and went to the Raiders, he put up another 3 or 4 good years.
You know what's an interesting stat? I can't remember when I read this, but do you know in NFL history who has the most career receptions after the age of 40?
The most career receptions after the age of 40. I am going to go with Largent.
Tom Brady.
Really?
Yep. Because receivers just don't play to 40.
Yeah, this is true. I was trying to think who's played to 40.
Yeah, Tom Brady's got 2 receptions after 40, and that's the most of all time.
See, there you go. Good party trick. Be like, I bet you can't name who's got the most receptions after the. I'm using that. I'm winning drinks off that one. So, what else do we got lined up for you tonight? Well, my rundown shut down on me. Sorry. What do we got? Wayne, I got too much stuff going on with you too. So we're going to talk. You can tell Brandon made this lineup. We're going to talk about the Raiders. Are they the most impressive 2-0 team right now? The last 3 rookies to throw for 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions are Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold, and Zach Wilson. Are the Jets just that cursed? All that stuff we're going to be talking about real quick after we come back from break. We'll see you here in about 2.5 minutes. If I can find where to hit the break button. Man, I really need that Sweetwater soundboard. That would make my life so much easier. Welcome back. Hey, Wayne, did you hear that we might be going to Vegas? Oh, wait, we are going to Vegas next year for the NFL draft?
I did hear that. You guys are going to be there. You can boo Roger Goodell.
Everybody. So, if you haven't heard, we've kind of been talking about it a little bit here and there, usually every show. We are going to Vegas. We are giving away to one lucky winner a trip to Vegas with us. So you will get airfare, hotel. We cannot guarantee your entry into the NFL draft because it is first come, first serve basis, and you need to get there early. So if you're anything like me and Brandon, who will probably end up sitting at a poker table till about 5 a.m., guarantee we will oversleep. I mean, you can't send me to Vegas. You can't. I will gamble on who walks across the street first. So, which is the reason I don't go to casinos usually.
So that's your game is poker. You're not a blackjack or craps guy. It's poker.
I can play, but I really like playing blackjack. I really like playing craps, but I am. I feel I can control a game a little bit better when I'm playing poker. Like I've always had a natural instinct when it comes to that. I can honestly say I've never went into a casino and played poker and walked out with less money than I walked in it.
I am a very good poker player, and one of the reasons I enjoy it so much, like you said, is because you have so much control over the outcome. And yes, there is some chance involved, but for the most part, if you play it right, you should never walk out of there with empty pockets. I mean, I've gone and I've sat for 8 hours and maybe only walked away up $200, but I'm still up, And so It's one of those things where if I go and I play blackjack for 8 hours, I won't even make 8 hours. I'll be out of money quick.
Make it an hour. If the dealer catches fire, you're screwed. I mean, there's nothing you can do at that point. Like, 16 hit, 5, 21. Sorry for your luck on your 20. And it does. It goes like that. I really do. I learned how to play. So for anybody that says video games are stupid, I learned how to play craps on a video game. Okay. Like that's legit how I learned how to play, and I made $18 million on my game playing craps. So I like to think I got pretty good at it.
Well, when you're playing with, fake money, it's a lot different too, because I played video game poker for a long time. I was on one of those, I can't remember the name of the site, but I used to play all the time. And at one point I was up to like $6 or $7 million in chips. And then of course I go into the casino though, and I'm like, I'm only going to bet $100.
Right. Well, and that they're a different animal you're playing against. I like it because you actually get to see the people and you can read the people then. And to me, that's the mental game of poker in person is half the fun of it and half the battle of it, of just the battle of wits to make them think that you got something else than what they actually have. That is a high for me when I get somebody to fold.
See, I don't look at anybody. I'm an analytical guy, so I'm looking at my hand and what are the odds that somebody has a better hand than that at the table based on what's in the middle. And I kind of play all the percentages in my brain, and that's how I kind of play it. And for the most part, you do play people a little bit, but like if I'm sitting there, I've got 2 jacks, right? And there's 2 9s in the middle of the table, and somebody's betting heavy, I might fold. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go toe to toe with you.
It depends. It depends how heavy they're betting. Because at that point, I'm still over on you. So I'll give you. So I had a guy at a table get mad, really, really mad at me, and told me I had no business being in that hand. I had King Jack offsuit. He had Ace 9 suited.
Okay.
And he bet pre-flop. I called him. Mm-hmm. Flop comes out. Ace, King, and 6. So he has a pair of aces. No, I got a pair of kings. He bets heavy again. I called it again. The turn comes. It comes up a jack. So now I'm sitting on 2 pair. Mm-hmm. He bets heavy again. I call it again. Because I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take as much money from this guy as I can. I've got top 2 pair. He went ballistic, and the turn card was like a 3. So it didn't even matter. He went ballistic because I had no business being in the hand with that hand. And I said, you had 1 over on me. One over. There's only 3 other cards in the deck that can beat me other than these cards that I have. You had 1 over. I had way more outs than you did going into this hand.
The biggest pot I ever won, I didn't even know I won it. So, I stayed in until the end, and it was a giant pot too. And I throw down my cards, and I didn't really have much. I think I had 8-6 or something offsuit, but I had a straight. I didn't realize it because I wasn't really paying attention. And so when I put the cards down, I was like, oh, darn it. And then they pushed all the chips over to me. I was like, oh, okay.
I've done that though too. Like people get mad at that too. You're like, oh crap, I won. Like, and they think you're being a jerk about it, but you're not. You're like, oh crap, I didn't even realize I won. Like, I didn't like, because sometimes the hands don't register in your head. Like, you're looking so hard at something else and you missed that completely. Like, I've done that before too, and people have gotten mad. I'm like, dude, an honest mistake.
So how about this? Here's a question. My sister's a big time. My sister plays in like tournaments, like national tournaments and stuff. So my question for you is, and she said that she's a cool customer at the table. So her whole thing is that, you know, if somebody says, all right, listen, I'm going to fold, will you show me what you got if I fold? Right? She'll say yes. You know what I mean? Like, because she doesn't play that whole, like, oh, no, it's a secret. She's like, yeah, I'll show you. Because if I don't have something that was better than yours, you can kick yourself, you know? And if I do, then you say, okay, I feel better about folding, you know? Yeah, but some of those people are really secretive. Like, nope, no, you can't see what I have. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I've never cared. Like, you know, you see like the theatrics and the antics of like your Phil Hellmuths that are just crybabies at the table over everything. Like, no matter what, he should win every hand. Like, I can't stand that guy. I don't remember like remember the old penny poker sites? They pop when poker was really coming out. They used to have these sites called penny poker sites, and they would pop up everywhere. And you could win like, you know, it was literally a penny to enter the tournament, and like you could win whatever. It was like $1 a tournament every time you'd win. And like people would just do it, just push all in on every hand,
right?
Because, you know, just to try to move on to the next table because it only cost them a penny, but you could buy into bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger tournaments, and then all of a sudden you could bankroll everything. And there was so many people. I think it was up to like $600 off of the $3 I invested into it. And then I think I lost it all because I started playing like $100 tournaments, and you can't play like nobody played loose at all. Like when it got to that level, because they were like, and so you couldn't gamble as much as you really wanted to.
Yeah, I did that. Except with the poker I used to play, it was, you know, you would do a tournament every now and then. That'd be like $5 to get into it, and yeah, everyone played a lot different in the tournament, you know, than they did like just when it's free money.
Yeah, I don't know. I miss it. That's one thing. Like, I used to run so many poker games back in the day out of a bar, and I'm like, God, if the cops ever came in here, we'd be shut down in about 10 seconds because our big thing was, you know, no cash on the table. It was always chips. Cash was always in the box. But I mean, I watched one guy take about $3,000 out. We emptied the ATM that night. The one guy took $3,000 out and lost it in the cash game.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I hate gambling. Hate it.
I don't like gambling. I only like winning. That's it. I only play games I can win at. So, all right, let's get back on it. Now you guys just all got a free poker lesson. I mean, maybe we should make that it. We should make it, you know, a poker night on here. Everybody play poker.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. Then we'd have to teach Buck how to count and why it would be like, is this good? And Brandon would just be like, screw you guys. He'd be your Phil Hellmuth. He'd just yell at everybody because he should have won every hand. That, come to think of it, that's what you remind me of. You remind me of Chris Moneymaker.
Oh, okay.
Demeanor wise. Like, I have his book autographed by him.
So here's a funny poker story. I played poker with some friends, and we were playing, and you would play all night, but you would play until somebody had all the chips, right? And then the game was over. Yeah. And so everybody put in a certain amount of money. And I remember my friend John, who I had nothing. I had, 2-7 offsuit, whatever, right? And I was like, I'm betting 5,000 or something, right? And he goes, all right, fold. So I'm like, all right, I take the chips, right? We didn't even get to the flop. So the next hand I get it, again, crappy hand, like 2-7 offsuit. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, I bet 5,000. So again, he folds, right? And then I take the chips. So then the next hand, I get a pair of kings, right? So again, I bet 5,000, and he goes, not this time, and he pushes all in. And I said, okay, I'll call, and I ended up winning the whole hand. But I told him, I was like, I was bluffing the first two hands because I didn't show him. I was like, I was bluffing the first two hands, and of course, the one you call me is I actually have a decent hand.
It's usually the way it goes because like you always get those like the wannabe hustlers at that table that will do that type of crap, and then you're just like, let me catch a hand and catch you with your pants down. And karma likes to like bite you in the ass sometimes, and then they're like, oh look, I got ace king suited, and look, oh I hit a royal flush. Ah, you suck. Which I have dealt. I've dealt 2 royal flushes in my life. Never had one, but I dealt them. All right, so let's get back to a little bit of football talk. This is the dumbest comment ever because I don't know what you're going to say, but I have an idea what you might say. Are the Raiders the most impressive 2-0 team in the NFL right now?
They are not. They are not the most impressive 2-0 team in the NFL. That's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are not the most impressive team in the AFC. That would be probably the team that they're in the same division with, and that's going to be the Broncos. Is more impressive that they're 2-0 because they were supposed to go 4-13 this year, and so they're already 2-0 and atop the division. My favorite 2-0 team is probably the Carolina Panthers. So the Carolina Panthers are only giving up 190 yards total per game. I mean, their defense is incredible right now, and Sam Darnold is showing what he can do when he's not on the Jets. So that's the most impressive 2-0 team probably.
See, and that's like I think okay, the Buccaneers are doing their thing. The Buccaneers are going to be the Buccaneers. For me, and I will agree with you, and that's what I figured you would say is the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers defense is everywhere right now. They are stomping on opponents. They made Jameis look like Jameis and made him do Jameis things. And, to me, they had the most – it's the offense nobody's going to talk about except for CMC. They're going to give nobody else – they have Robbie Anderson. They have DJ Moore. Obviously, they got CMC. And Darnold's starting to become the quarterback that they thought he could be. So CMC is going to get the headlines there, but I am more impressed with that roster overall. And I think they could be a serious thorn in people's side the rest of the way out. I said it last night. I said they potentially could be the second best team in the AFC South. Or, excuse me, in the NFC South. And obviously Brandon called me nuts because he said that was the Saints. So.
Oh, yeah. The Saints, they looked good last week. But the whole thing with the Panthers is that they drafted really, really well. I mean, their defense was already good. They got J.C. Horn. I think they got Davion Nixon. Late. And Davion Nixon's a guy who probably could have been a first-round pick if he didn't have, lousy senior year. So they just stacked up that defensive line. And then I thought Chuba Hubbard was a great, signing to kind of offset CMC, who's been healthy. CMC's averaging 85 yards rushing and 77 receiving per game. So, again, I don't see any weaknesses. It's 2 games into the season. We don't want to go too crazy. But for the first 2 games, I mean, the Panthers look really, really good.
I can't argue that at all. Like, CMC was hurt last year, and he's doing things again this year, doing what CMC does, and that's just put numbers up like crazy all game long. And there's a reason the guy is still the number 1 overall pick in probably 99.9% of fantasy drafts. I'm sure there was some league where some homer was like, "I'm a Giants fan, I'm taking Saquon," or like the one guy we have a guy in our league that like 3 years ago took Aaron Rodgers like at number 3 overall. Quarterbacks score squat in our fantasy league. Like you get 1 point for every 50 yards passing and 4 points for a touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. So like they don't score anything in our league. So like you can always take your quarterback late in our league. And he took him with the number 3 overall pick, and we about laughed him out of the building for that one.
I'm taking the Bengals defense number 1 overall.
Well, and he's like, he probably would have been there in the second round. Like, yeah, he would have. Like, nobody takes a quarterback that early. The first, because they're, again, a PPR league. First off, you're going for your running back that catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. Second, you're going for whoever the top receivers are that are left on the board. Like, quarterback's almost an afterthought in that kind of league. Like, I think I drafted Russell Wilson in our league in like the 8th round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they go late, but they put up the most points. I mean, I played in a PPR league last year. I think Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are 2 of the top point getters in the whole league. So
Lamar I get though, because tons of rushing touchdowns. So you could almost double up between passing and rushing with him though. Like that I can get.
But I think it's just the fact that you only starting one quarterback and you're starting 2, possibly 3 running backs. So the depth goes very quick in the draft, which is why quarterbacks last so long. But really, the quarterback is usually your leading scorer.
It's not in our league.
Huh?
Really? No. Well, it's like I said, because we only get 1 point. We get 1 point for every 50 yards passing versus 1 point for every 25. Like, we actually have a very low scoring league. And it's 1 point for every 25 yards receiving and 1 point per catch. 1 point for every 25 yards rushing. So, like for me, last year I had Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. Well, those two pretty much won me my league last year because they would catch 12. I get 12 points just off of them catching balls each every week.
Right.
All right. So now we're going to take our second quick break here because now I have it all queued up. So now I actually know what I'm doing.
All right, cool.
I don't ever know what I'm doing. I just kind of wing it. So when we come back from break, we're going to go over my favorite topic ever, Zach Wilson being trash. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Man Our Nation. Sorry, I was turning around watching the score of the Packer game, and it is now 7-7. And also, I'm like, turn around, I'm like, oh crap, we're coming back. Whoops. And I'm watching my fantasy football score because I'm only up by 24 points. He has Devontae Adams going. Devontae gets hot, that I could actually lose this game.
Yeah.
Looking at our lineups, there's no way I should win this game.
I had taken over my aunt's fantasy football because she doesn't really know anything. Like, she didn't even know what a running back was. I told her you need to take 2 running backs. And she goes, okay, whatever those are. So I told her, let the computer pick the team for you. And now I'm managing her team for her. And she just lost to her boss. She was very upset, only by like 6. And it's because the Patriots got like 18 points for their defense.
Those are always fun. Like you see like on Twitter, like the person that like knows it's like the person that doesn't know college basketball and pick their bracket based off colors of uniforms. And also they're like, oh, I won. I just picked my colors. I like their name. versus us that had watched it all year.
Well, some people pick the upsets, and I applaud those people. Yeah, the people who just like throw darts at a board, I have no respect for them.
Yeah, no, that's not me. Like, I will say I'm probably as big a college football or a college basketball fan as I am college football, and I like that probably almost more than the NFL.
Yeah, not me. I think it's very, very, very distant from the NFL for me.
I just like it. I get into like the recruiting. Like I'm looking at who are the like obviously as a Wisconsin Badger fan, I'm looking at who are the Badgers looking to recruit in 2023 already. Like I get all into that different type of stuff. Like it's just such a different dynamic when it comes to recruiting for college ball.
Yeah, I love the recruiting, especially when I used to play college football on the PlayStation. That was my favorite, was the recruiting, and I do like that better than the draft. But as far as like being like a live action fan, I just can't get into it until it gets to the playoffs. I don't really care. Like I don't care about watching Alabama versus FIU. You know, it just doesn't do anything for me.
I will tell you, I would love to get you up here for a Wisconsin Badger game. One, the pregame is insane because like the cop, as long as you're not being a jerk, the cops don't care what you do on the street. As long as you're not chucking liquor bottles and like if you're walking down the street drinking, having a good old time, they could care less. They're like, as long as you're being normal. The student section at a Badger game, just watching the student section is half the fun of even watching the game itself, because they will, like, if there's a penalty on the opposing team, all you hear is the student section all stand up and be like, you effed up. Like it just, except they actually say it. There is so many cops in that student section. When they come in, it's not even funny because they're all hammered.
Right.
And then obviously the jump around tradition started in the fourth quarter. There's just something about feeling the whole stadium move underneath your feet. It's crazy. Like you can just feel it as it goes, the stadium just moves. It's a pretty intense atmosphere, and like people call me crazy because I've been to Packer games and I've been to Badger games, and I said I think I actually like the atmosphere of Badger game more than a Packers game.
Yeah, see, I've never been to a college or pro football game. I've only been to high school, and it's one of those games that it sucks watching live. I feel like, I mean, obviously the live is part of the whole tailgating. There's a bunch that goes into it, but like for me, just like watching the game, it's like, okay, it's a bunch of people fell into another bunch of people, unless there's a big play.
I mean, it's kind of true, but like, so my best friend's got season tickets, and we're in the end zone, like directly between like the goalposts. So to me, that's like the perfect seats. We're 53 rows up, and it looks like we're on the field. And to me, I love it because I get to watch all the plays develop. So Brett Favre's last pass as a Packer, I got to watch as he looked at the one guy that was triple covered in Donald Driver as Jennings was streaking down the other side of the field wide open. And Favre's like, Roop! And we're like, and game over.
Yep. No, I love guys like Brett Favre and Josh Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about my other favorite quarterback I love to talk about, Zach Wilson. So Zach Wilson becomes the third quarterback in New York Jets history to throw 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. In fact, the last 3 quarterbacks to do it are Jets quarterbacks in Sanchez, Darnold, and Zach Wilson. Are the Jets cursed? Or are they just really bad as an organization?
Oh, they're an incredibly bad organization. Even to the fact that Sam Darnold, who I think is an extraordinarily gifted passer, I mean, he throws on the run as good as anybody, including Mahomes. I think Darnold throws on the run as good as Mahomes throws on the run. And he can throw from a lot of different arm angles, but you stick him in New York for 3 years, he almost ruined his career. Now you look at what he's doing in Carolina. The guy averages 280 yards passing per game and 70% completion. You need to give him an offensive coordinator, somebody like Matt Rule over there in Carolina knows what he's doing. Adam Gase, not so much. As far as Zach Wilson, I know you got a lot of hate for him, and I just wanted to tell people that, you know, I had messaged you off the air, I think Sunday, because you were talking about it, and I said, well, to be fair, you know, his left tackle's out, they couldn't get the running game going, and he was playing against the number 1 defense in the NFL, whose head coach also eats up rookie quarterbacks, and you said, shut up, Wayne.
No, that's not what I said. What did I say? I said, stop raining on my Zach Wilson hating parade.
Yeah, don't bring logic over here.
I don't want to hear none of that. He sucks. So but it's like I said, I've said it since pre-draft. After when the Zach Wilson hype train started, I said, really? Like I see the arm strength. Okay, I get that, but I don't see a lot of intangibles with this kid. I don't. To me, and right now, and there again, part of it's being a rookie, that the game is too big for him right now. The speed is too fast. Like everybody jumped on the Zach Wilson's going to be amazing train during the preseason when they crowned him the preseason MVP, and now teams are actually playing full speed with their starters. And like you said, he is missing. He's missing Mekhi Becton. Huge loss right there. They're starting Michael Carter, another rookie running back, and they have a young roster. It's going to be a good roster. I just think it'll be better once he's out of town.
Maybe. I doubt it'll be better, but they'll probably have a new rookie quarterback in there that they can just trash on. But I think the problem with Zach Wilson, like you said, when I watched him play and looking at his college career, it's not even just that he had one good year. Because like I said, Joe Burrow had one good year, but he turned out to be pretty good. It's more the fact that he didn't play in a pro-style offense, and he didn't play against any NFL caliber players. So unlike guys like Trevor Lawrence, who played in a pro-style offense against NFL caliber players, and unlike guys like Mac Jones, who played in the SEC, he was playing against Boise Tech and like Idaho, and who else is in the Mountain West there with BYU? He was playing against a bunch of scrubs, and people talked about like, well, yeah, but the thing that's crazy about him is the deeper he throws it, the more accurate he becomes. And I'm like, well, because he's playing against a bunch of junk. Put him up against Alabama and see how he does.
Right. Yeah, he played. I don't even know is it called the Mountain West now? It's not the Western Athletic Conference anymore.
Right.
Pretty soon they're going to be part of the Pac-12. So I think the Pac-12 extended that. No, the Big 12. The Big 12 extended BYU an invite.
Well, that's because everybody's leaving to go to the SEC.
Right. Pretty soon you are going to have three conferences. You are going to have the Big 10, the SEC, and the Pac-12. And that's going to be it. Where's Notre Dame? I take it back. The ACC will survive too.
Yeah, you'll have Notre Dame there. Clemson, although I had read somewhere Clemson might go to the SEC.
There again, why?
Just it's more money for the school.
I just don't get it. Like, it's like Texas, like still thinking that they're a good team, and like we're gonna go to the SEC. You just got your asses handed to you by Arkansas, who is a beating doll of the SEC, and you lost to them, and you think you're going to be good in the SEC? Good luck.
Well, I think that in Texas's case, maybe it helps recruiting, because now instead of saying, well, we're playing against, Texas A&M and we're playing against, who cares? Now you can say, I'm playing against Alabama this year. If you come and play for Texas, you're going to play against Alabama. You can always go to Alabama, but you're going to sit for 2 years before you get a chance to play against us.
Yeah. I don't know. My thing is I think it was a terrible choice for Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a perennial playoff team right now. They're going to go to the SEC and become Texas A&M. They're going to be good, but they're not going to – I don't think they're a college playoff contender every year. And pretty soon, what are they going to do, bust into 4 divisions there? Have a semifinal game and then a championship game?
That sounds pretty cool to me. Although you're going to go to an 8-team playoff, so, who cares?
Right. Technically your playoffs just start earlier then, because if you go to the 18 playoff and you figure – you have a semifinal game, and then you have a championship game. Technically, your playoffs start in that semifinal game, because chances are if you win your conference, you're probably going to the playoff.
Oh, especially the SEC if you win the conference.
Absolutely.
Even if you had a mini playoff like that, the thing that'd be really weird is seeing a team that loses in the semifinal but still makes the 8-team playoff because they were 8-1 or something like that.
Which would cause a whole different, guaranteed, if that's a Bama, guaranteed right. Bama's undefeated. They lose, they could get knocked out by 35 points and they'd still make the playoff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I think it's good. I think it's good for college football, but I don't think it's good for college football all the same thing, because now all you're doing right now is you're using mid-major teams as farm teams for your power conferences. That's it.
Well, and then you're
Like,
kind
oh,
of turning
who can
those
pick up?
mid-majors into powerhouses, though. So eventually, when they leave and they go back to wherever, then they're going to be superstar teams. I don't know. I think that teams like Texas, I think the SEC is going to be good for Texas. I would actually like to see some of the SEC teams bolt to become better teams in a weaker conference, like maybe see Auburn go to the ACC. I would love to see something like that. Although I don't think they ever will because, like I was saying, the SEC makes a boatload of cash, and so
Right.
nobody's leaving there willingly.
Well, and the thing is like SEC, that is football land. That is football territory. That rules the roost, and it makes all the money. So they'd be stupid to leave that at that point, versus like an ACC where, I would argue that ACC basketball is still probably better than the ACC football.
Oh yeah, that's not even close to an argument. Yeah, Duke and North
Yeah.
Carolina alone versus the Duke and North Carolina football programs.
Right. Clemson can be great at football, but they're garbage for a basketball program. Well, I don't even know what they finished last year, but it just to me, there's no comparison there. Again, that's what the other part you have to take in is what are the other athletics? I want to know what the hell the Big Ten's going to do. What are we going to start pillaging more people? Like for me, the ones that make sense right now to try to pillage while the iron's hot is Iowa State and Kansas.
Okay.
I mean, you're not bringing Kansas to your conference for football reasons, obviously, because their football program's terrible. But basketball-wise, that really solidifies the Big Ten as the best basketball conference.
Yeah, with Ohio State and Michigan and all those schools, I guess. But it's funny, whenever they talk about conference realignments, I only think in terms of football. I don't even think about the other sports.
See, I'll go through and like, okay, what other programs do they have? Like, what's their volleyball program look like? Like I'm a college sports fan in general, just because for me, they're not getting, I can't say anymore. They're not getting paid. They play defense. Well, now they're all getting paid.
Right. Well, because if you look at it in terms of, basketball as well, I mean, Oklahoma could be the best team in the SEC.
Basketball-wise?
Yeah. I mean, who else you got? Alabama. Florida sometimes has a good team.
Florida's generally pretty good.
Texas is not really that great, even though I love Shaka Smart.
Shaka Smart's not there.
Where did Shaka Smart go?
Shaka Smart bowled it from Marquette University, right where I live.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a couple months ago, because I said, I thought I came up with a great overlay for that one. I said, "Is this a Shaka Smart move to Marquette?" I thought it was a pretty good play on words.
Yeah, it's like a weak newspaper headline.
That's what it was meant to be, though.
I know. I hate those. I hate those play on words.
That's me. I like to do that. At least it's it's still better than some of the stuff Buck talks about.
Yeah, Marcus, not so smart, runs up into the stands.
All right. So now, sorry, I was checking my fantasy football scores. I'm still up. So now, let's get on to Tua. 2 weeks after rib injury, they're talking 6 to 8 weeks for Tua to be out. Did they finally pull the trigger on the Deshaun trade?
Nope.
Because they've been linked to him from day one.
Yeah, and their season's over without Tua. I mean, it's done because Jacoby Brissett's going to carry them. They're done. But you're not going to pull the trigger on Deshaun Watson as long as Houston still wants 6 draft picks and 2 players. So it doesn't matter how bad off you are because you're just not going to do that because he might not play. You make that trade and you could have him sit this year and next year on disciplinary reasons, and then you just traded away your entire team. So I think that if Houston comes down on the asking price, because there was rumors that Miami was offering 3 first-round picks, which is pretty big still.
Right.
But they were offering 3 first-round picks, and Houston said no. If Houston comes down to 3, I think they pull the trigger. But as long as Houston is continuing to ask for the moon, I think Miami would rather finish, 4-13 and get one of these quarterbacks coming in the draft.
So would you say it's the moon over Miami?
No.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they pulled the trigger, especially because they want Tua in return, allegedly. Why would you draft Davis Mills if you wanted to get Tua? If you thought Davis Mills was going to be your future this year. But I agree. The price tag is way too high. And Miami offered 3 firsts, and they asked for like 4 or 5 players with it. Like they wanted Xavier Howard, who's one of the best corners in the league, who at the time was unhappy with the team. And they were asking like for everybody. Like basically, I think they asked for Devontae Parker. They asked for one of the linemen. They asked for somebody else. It was like, no, I'm not going to trade away like a quarter of my starters just to make you happy.
Right. I want to bring in somebody who's going to help us get to a Super Bowl, not bring in somebody and then have to rebuild around them.
Right. Yeah. It makes no sense. And there again, I still think that that's part of the Bill O'Brien school of thinking in Houston. But there again, I mean,
well, it's Caserio now.
Caserio, yeah. But still, something about Jack Easterby just does not sit with me. He seems like the puppet master to me. The guy went from a team chaplain to team president in like a year.
Right. Well, he prayed a lot for that to happen.
Apparently. So I am not expecting them to pull the trade. And there again, the NFL is not a big trade league anyways, because at this point you don't know the systems. It's a completely different offense or a defense, whatever you'd have to learn. It's not like you could trade like a kicker or a punter that can just go out there and do their job. There's nothing to learn there. They already know how to do that. So I don't think you see an in-season trade for Deshaun. Nobody's going to bite at that price tag, and they'll wait for the tag to come down.
Now, that's all assuming that things are continuing to go as they're going. If tomorrow morning report comes out, Deshaun Watson cleared of all charges dropped, then it's a different conversation.
It's still a lot to give up for a player. I mean,
yeah, but at least you know he's going to play right away, and you're not going to lose him.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that, but still, I don't think any NFL team. I mean, maybe the Raiders. The Raiders would probably do something that stupid.
Why would the Raiders get rid of Derek Carr?
Because it's the Raiders. I mean,
you're throwing for 400 yards a game. We'd rather get this other guy.
But we get Deshaun. And I mean, yeah, you were on when we were talking about that. How basically we all said Carr's underrated as a quarterback, and for whatever reason, his name's the first one to always come up in trade debates.
I've been saying that for 3 years, and people laugh at me. I'm like, Derek Carr is a 70% completion, 4,000 yard per season guy every year. And yet every year people are like, Derek Carr is trash. I'm like, no, he's just on a trash team. Like, I understand he went 8-8 last year, but he put up like Pro Bowl numbers.
Yeah. And didn't even make the Pro Bowl because maybe he did. Probably, well, I think he actually made it as an alternate and then got called in because, like, well, I don't know. They were stacked in the AFC for quarterbacks.
Although, how big of a full circle is Derek Carr going to the Texans?
I just feel bad for him. I just want to cry then. Do you think David would go with him?
I don't know. But I know that they completely torpedoed his career.
Right. I'm pretty sure David would just get PTSD if he was like, I'm not going to a game in Houston. Like, and that's where, like, I mean, you've heard it before, like where Brandon and I get into it. Like, you got to play a young quarterback. I'm like, look what happened to Derek Carr with no offensive line. 89 times. 89 times you got sacked in a season. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, give the guy time to throw. Because otherwise what happens is he starts to rush his passes. He never learns how to go through his progressions. And then you're like, oh, this guy was a bust. Well, you ruined his career. Like, you never really gave him a chance to succeed.
Yeah, 100% on that one. Like, there again, and he left Houston and went on to have like a 10-year career. You know, he was just as a backup, but I'm sure I'd be too after I got hit that many times. I'd be gun shy stepping onto the field.
And I think people who are too young don't realize, because I watched David Carr. I watched him play, from his rookie year on. He could really throw the football. He had a great arm. It just couldn't stay upright.
And due to no fault of his own at that point, that man ran for his life every single time he dropped back. All right. So now, now we're going to go on BC's team, the Bears.
Ugh.
I don't know. Do they need to make a head coaching change in season by week 4 for them to be relevant?
No, nothing they do is going to make them relevant. just ride it out. I mean, this is his last season. Let him ride out the season and then just fire him at the end of the season. You're not going to make the playoffs anyways. And I think what they really need is they need Andy Dalton to get healthy quick because Justin Fields is not the answer. He should not be coming in right away.
So you don't agree with BC's theory of let him play, let him play. My thing is you let him play yesterday and look what happened.
Well, and I'm not going to throw that as a knock against him, but the reality of the situation is, and I had this conversation with Brandon as well. I said, Justin Fields, unlike Trevor Lawrence, unlike Mac Jones, is not ready to start right now on any team in the league. He has been in a system where he's allowed to throw to his first option 90% of the time. He needs to learn how to read an NFL defense, to learn NFL offense and the nuances and the checkdowns, and he needs a full year of that. Andy Dalton was the perfect guy to sit behind because Andy Dalton does that. And then you put him in there now, you could end up in that David Carr situation because, yes, I think Justin Fields has enormous talent. I think he was the second best quarterback in the draft in terms of potential. But you can't put him in this soon or what you're going to run the risk of. Again, it's him making lots of bad decisions, then getting down on himself, second-guessing himself, not making throws that he should make because the last time he made that throw, he threw an interception. And the next thing you know, you've got a quarterback who's not even good enough to be a backup.
Right. Which is everything I've said to Brandon, and he is adamant that, I'm like, Justin Fields is going to be an amazing quarterback, but he needs to sit. He needs to learn. And he called us great. He's like, what? He's going to sit behind Andy Dalton? Yeah, Andy Dalton knows how to read a defense. Andy Dalton may not be the quarterback he was, but he still goes through his progressions. He can, and he's a perfect mentor. He realizes that at this point in his career, he is a mentor, and he's not meant to be the top guy. That's not what he's there for at this point.
If he's not mentally tough enough to handle a loss, he shouldn't be in the NFL. It's not even about mental toughness. It's about developing bad habits by trying not to do bad things. It's a whole bad situation.
No, I liken it to learning the NFL is like learning to play golf. Never follow up a bad shot with the hero shot because that's what everybody that learns golf tries to do. I didn't hit it good this time. I'm going to swing out of my shoes at this next one. Never ends well.
And never take advice from your playing partner unless he's shooting in the 60s.
Right. I will agree with that too. I mean, so I definitely, for 18 maybe I'm there, but I'm just kidding. I think my best round ever was like a 71.
No, it's crazy because I've been playing golf for God knows how long. And every time you play with somebody's got some advice. Like, oh, what if you kept this a little bit straighter? I'm like, listen, buddy, I just watched you shank 3 shots in a row. Why don't you give your advice to the people on the next hole?
So our fantasy football, we always do a golf outing before our draft. And I have not got, this was the first time I got to get out and play this year. It was the first time my best friend got to go out and play in 2 years. And then we had 2 people that were literally teaching how to play golf on the course. Mm-hmm. And then people wanted to play for money. And I'm like, no, this isn't fair. Literally, I was lining up the one guy, lining him up, telling him, okay, relax this. This is what you do. Stop picking up stop peeking. Stop peeking. Stop peeking. Why am I stop peeking? I think I beat that one into his head. I mean, he was a baseball player. He's got the baseball swing that, as you know, is a completely different swing than the golf swing. And you can't be picking up that front foot.
Oh, I will say that Ken Griffey Jr. hit some bombs off the tee.
I mean, so did Happy Gilmore, but
yeah. Here's something you can't learn in the driving range.
Where would you put that? No, because you and I always like our sports movies. Where would you put Happy Gilmore in sports movies?
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's not going to be really high because as much as I like it, it's not going to compete with more serious movies like The Natural or Bull Durham, even which is kind of a comedy, or Any Given Sunday, and those types of. It's going to be way down the list. And even for golf movies, I would rate it behind Tin Cup. I would rate it behind even, The Greatest Game Ever Played is an underrated golf movie. So,
better than Baker Vance, though.
I like Bagger Vance.
See, I was not a huge fan of Baker Vance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I mean, are you really going to say that Happy Gilmore is a better acted and written and directed movie than The Legend of Bagger Vance, though? I mean, it's entertaining, but yeah, I'd probably put below 50. It'd probably be below 50.
Yeah. I mean, slapstick comedy-wise, it's hilarious. But as far as sports movie, it would be pretty low on my list. I would say maybe top 25 for me.
Very high rewatchability.
Yes.
But in terms of like, if I'm grading it based on, I'm putting on my black beret and turtleneck and grading it based on cinematic everything, then it's probably going to be very low.
Do you do that often, Wayne? Do you put the black beret on?
Yeah. Only when I watch Quentin Tarantino bullcrap.
Got the like the smoke holder. I don't even know what the hell those things are called. They would put their smoke in.
I don't know either. I've never smoked a day in my life.
Got your circle glasses on. Like the cinematography in this movie is so awful.
Yeah. Oh, those costumes are from the 1870s, not the 1880s. Who are they fooling? I feel like I'm watching a kindergarten production.
And with that, we are going to our next break. We will see you back here in 2 minutes.
What's going on? I wanted
a
to
freaking linebacker on T.J. Hawkinson. Are you freaking kidding me?
I did want to give when we got back, I wanted to give the shout out to Drew because he put his comment up there. We didn't get a chance to get to it. He'd said that if Deshaun Watson gets convicted, then he would be a great Raider. And I think that that's kind of the old adage. It used to be the Cowboys in the 90s or the Miami Hurricanes, maybe a little bit before that, right? But the old joke I'd heard was, what do you call a drug ring in Dallas?
The Dallas Cowboys offensive line?
A huddle.
Yeah, because didn't like Nate Newton's in prison for I don't know, just having a ton of weed in his trunk.
Oh, probably. Michael Irvin got busted. That was the big one.
Yeah, back then, different game. They were all into something. It's just those that got caught and those that didn't.
And you know what? Actually, speaking of Drew, he actually came up with a great idea for a game, and I think that people should know. If you guys have ideas for the show, because I know just like my show, ideas are great. And Drew had this great idea. It was kind of like a random name, a random face, random team kind of thing, which I thought was interesting, which was saying you put a bunch of names into a theoretical hat, and you pull a name out randomly, and you get that player in their prime, and then you take all the teams in a hat, and you pull it out randomly, and then how would that player do on that team? How would that team do with that player? So I'll give you an example. I reach into the hat, David Carr, right? The current Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh. They'd be a hell of a lot better than with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is terrible.
And they've got one of the best offensive lines in football, right? So
absolutely. They got it, and their defense is better than what they played.
So we're thinking they'd be pretty good with David Carr, huh?
I would think I don't know. They've had a pretty tough start to the season. I still think they'd be 0-2.
But yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting game, and you could do that obviously with any sports,
I think we need to make that one happen. That sounds like it'd be a fun game.
Yeah,
we got some segment nobody watches called That's Debatable. I'm just kidding.
That's everybody's favorite segment.
We are going to flip the tables on you tonight.
Okay.
Because tonight, we're going to make you play Way or No Way.
Oh, my favorite. Brandon loves when I play this game.
I don't even have the way. I don't even have the overlay for it, so I can't even play the thing. Like, that's the bad part of when Buck's not here. None of it. We don't have anything.
Well, I heard that when he runs the screens, that it's like a what is it, master command center. He's got like several computers lined up. He's trying to play all at once.
Yes. It's like a symphony for him. It's a tech geek symphony is what it is. So are you ready to start playing Way or No Way?
Absolutely. Way.
Cool. And we get to go right to my heart. Very first one. The Jets will bench Zach Wilson if he continues to struggle this season.
No way. He is the future of the team. He's the future of that franchise. They're not setting him on the bench no matter how bad he does. They're going to let him take his lumps. They're going to let him learn from it. He's a cocky, arrogant kid. It's not going to get to him. He's not somebody who's going to hang his head. So, and what's the ultimate goal anyways? No, we're going to go 2-15 anyways. We'd rather go 2-15 with this guy who's never going to play for us again. No, you want to go 2-15 with your rookie who's going to be the starter for you next year.
I got to go No Way on that one as well. They're going to ride it out with him. They're going to see what they got. My thing is, and they're getting one of my other knocks on him. There's literally the kid doesn't play with fire or passion in my eyes, because if he fails, what does he do? He goes back to his trust fund that daddy's got at JetBlue. So, like, I don't know. Part of me that bugs me that it just looks, if you watch him play, there's no fire or no passion in him. It's just like it's like he's like, well, I got a job because dad told me I had to get a job. Like, that's what it reminds me of.
Kind of like Barry Bonds.
Right. Except then he figured out what roids were, and then he's like, I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying, or if you're talking about rich kids that went to BYU, how about Steve Young? How did it play out for him?
Yeah, but you could see he played with flair and he played with passion. He wanted to win.
He's a guy who went 0-12 or something like that with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, with the Buccaneers, yeah.
So maybe Zach Wilson just needs to go to the 49ers.
There again, could be. He might pull a Sam Darnold like 3 years from now, get traded, be like, you're terrible. Next thing you know, he's a Pro Bowl quarterback for like the next 10 years.
Although, full disclosure, I am kind of playing devil's advocate because Sam Darnold is a much more talented passer than Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Well, and he played at a big-time program. He got professional coaching. Like, I don't even think you can compare the two just because of the way those programs are run.
Yeah. I mean, I compare them just because of how the Jets are still run the same way they were when Darnold was there. So
the Jets are still run the same way when Ken O'Brien was there. Which 90% of our people probably don't even know who Ken O'Brien is.
They were run the same way when Joe Namath was there.
Broadway Joe, when they traded him to the Rams. All right, so our second Way or No Way. If Jacob Eason plays well while Wentz is out, Carson Wentz will never start another game in the NFL.
Oh, no way. No, so I thought you were going to say that he would be not starting the game for the Colts, which is kind of way because it would really depend on how good Jacob Eason actually plays. He can't just play okay because they invested a lot of capital in getting Carson Wentz there. So they are in it for the long haul with him. Frank Reich is his best friend in the world, right? So in order for him to get benched even, Jacob Eason would have to throw for 260 yards a game easy and not turn the ball over. Then maybe you keep him on the bench. But even then, in that situation, Carson Wentz was the number 2 overall draft pick. He's got a lot of talent. He would go somewhere probably as a backup because people would be worried about his health. But wherever he would go, as we know, backups always get a chance to play at some point. And he would end up starting somewhere else, even if it's only for a game.
Except for when you were Brett Favre's backup. I mean, then you just got a paycheck every week.
Or Aaron Rodgers' backup.
Well, he's missed a couple of games though, so he's missed most of his season and stuff like that. So, but like I don't know, way back in the day, they did a thing on Fox Sports, like at that time. Ironically enough, Doug Peterson was the backup quarterback for the Packers. And I remember they were talking to Aikman, and Aikman's like, Doug Peterson's the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Nobody's ever even heard of him because Favre won't let him play.
Yeah, nothing like a little hyperbole from Troy Aikman.
Yeah, right. And like, so they did like this big old like parody thing on it. It was actually really funny. And then they were talking about like Mark Brunell and Ty Detmer and Aaron Brooks, like all the guys that like left Green Bay and went on to start someplace else. So it was actually a pretty funny segment. So, all right. Now, our third one. This one should be near and dear to your heart as well.
Okay.
The Yankees are the most disappointing team in baseball this year.
See, I'm not a big baseball guy. I don't want to say near and dear to my heart. I don't really follow baseball that much. I do know that the Red Sox, because that's my part of the neck of the woods here, is they're in first. And the Yankees aren't doing well. I don't know if that means they're disappointing. I don't know who else was supposed to do really well. This is not my segment. So I will say, for the sake of argument, no way. The most disappointing team is the Dodgers.
Okay. I will say no way as well. However, to me, the most disappointing team is the San Diego Padres because they bumped their payroll from like $100 million to $161 million this year. And will not even have a playoff berth to show for it. Like that's just a bad baseball right there for you to be that big of a payroll, to have a Manny Machado in his prime, to have a Fernando Tatis in your prime or in his prime, and just their pitching let them down. Like that offense can put up 7 or 8 runs a game, but when your pitching staff's giving up 10, it's a net loss at that point, my friend.
Well, what's scary, you said Fernando Tatis in his prime. Isn't he only like in his 3rd year?
Yeah.
So his prime is still like 5 years away.
Nah, he's in his prime now. He'll be there. He'll
at 23.
At 23. I mean, I think I peaked when I was 19. So I don't know. Like Tatis is just one of those guys that's a special player, and he is, I believe, in his prime now. Like he'll be there till he's like 31. Like you're gonna talk every year about Tatis should be in the conversation for the MVP. Like the kid is just that good.
So he's the anti-Indians roster in the movie Major League. When like the ones I do know are way past their prime. Most of these guys never had a prime.
And then a bunch of quotes that we can't really say on air. Since this is a family-friendly radio show.
Although I do recommend check out Major League. That is actually rated very high in my movies.
Yeah, mine too. That is still one of my. It's a go-to. Like that's one of them. If you're flipping through a channel, it's on. Boom, everything stops and you watch that. Don't care if it's got commercials. Don't care if it's edited. Just don't ever watch Major League 2. That movie is awful.
What team you play for, Jake? The Indians. Here in Cleveland? I didn't know they still had a team. Yeah, we got uniforms and everything. It's really great.
Oh, that movie is just amazing.
And it's funny because I saw that movie, obviously, at a young age, but I saw that movie before I saw Platoon. So it was weird to see Tom Berenger go from lovable Jake Taylor to Platoon. And I'm wondering what it was like if it was the opposite. If you were old enough that you saw Platoon first, and then to see him in Major League and be like, oh, wow.
Like, this guy's got some range. And then to watch him in The Teacher or The Substitute or whatever it was.
Ugh, awful.
Was it? Is it called The Substitute?
Substitute, yeah.
I
And they
think
made like
so.
a Substitute Part 2, which had somebody even worse in it, I think.
Well, no. Then it had the other guy. It had the Hispanic guy from the first one in it as the teacher in the second one. Like, because he was like the sniper or whatever.
We could do a whole segment about movies that did not deserve a sequel.
I mean, a segment. I think we could do a whole show. Speaking of that, our next segment is now up. We are going back to break. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
manhourradio.com.
I always forget I got to cut that one off because there's like 30 seconds of darkness.
I was just thinking, is this the black screen of death?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Which version's better?
The Disturbed version. I think it's way more powerful than Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the lyrics are the same, but I just feel like the delivery, when I heard the Disturbed version, I said, this is how it was supposed to be sung in the first place.
Absolutely. They tried to make it like way too folklore-y.
Well, that's what they did. I mean, it sounded like Simon and Garfunkel.
Right, yeah. But like to me, when Disturbed redid it, it brought the darkness out in the song.
Yeah, I definitely feel that as well. Like it was the first time I heard it, it was very like, I don't know, I feel it, like I could feel it in my skin. I don't know, like it was weird.
Yeah, like that's a will never get skipped song in my vehicle ever.
Well, there's a reason why if you watch YouTube videos, and I'm a big reaction video guy, like, oh, watch this person react to Chris Stapleton, Tennessee Whiskey, right? And
I don't know who that is.
Oh, great song. Check it out. And if you check out people react to The Sound of Silence by Disturbed, every one of those videos has like 100,000 views. And it's just people reacting to it. Yeah.
Right. I watched, I don't know, it's FBE. I don't even know what it stands for, but I watch them. Usually they do a lot of reaction videos and stuff like that. So they will go from like kids all the way to like elderly adults. So it's they always try to mix everything up.
I'm giving you that homework though. I'm going to message it to you after the show. Is Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton.
It's country. I will not listen to it.
It's blues. And by the way, we already talked about how you do like country, you just don't know it yet. And you said you were going to keep an open mind about it. So
no, I did. No. I never said that because I hate country that much.
No, because you only hate the country songs that you've heard. You haven't heard them all. So Tennessee Whiskey, Chris Stapleton.
Any music genre that makes a song about their tractor being sexy, they're already out in my book.
Well, This song is not about that. So it is a really, really good song. I recommend it. I'm telling you, especially when I watch like the reaction videos of it, they're like, oh, hip hop fans listen to Tennessee Whiskey for the first time. And they shut it off like halfway through and they go, are you kidding me? Like, is this for real? Like, the guy's voice is unbelievable.
Isn't it? He's from Wisconsin, I think.
Is he?
Wasn't he on like one of those singing shows?
No, I don't think so.
What are they called? Not The Voice. What's the other one?
Oh, America's Got Talent?
No.
American Idol?
Yes.
Okay.
He was on.
I
there.
think
Guy
country
from Wisconsin was on there.
Yeah, there's a country guy on there. I can't remember his name. I don't know. There's a bunch. They've had a bunch of country people, but nobody I've really liked. But I'm telling you, Chris Stapleton, I think you'd like it. So that's. I haven't recommended any songs to you since we had our discussion. So this is the first one I'm recommending.
Because I shut it down and I said no.
No. I explained it to you very clearly that you just haven't heard the right song, and I wouldn't recommend something because I know how dead set you are. I wouldn't recommend something unless I thought you'd like it. You're gonna like the song.
If it ain't loud and it ain't heavy, it ain't worth listening to.
Well, you don't like bluesy type stuff?
Actually, I do like blues. So
okay, you're gonna love this song.
I will give it. The only form besides country I probably don't like is probably polka.
I've never really given it a shot. I would keep it in mind, but
no, it's just awful.
Ever since I heard John Candy and Home Alone go polka, 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 I was like, all right. I listen to John Candy sing.
So the thing is I'm in Wisconsin. We are a very, very German state, and polka is like it's like a must-do thing. Like, oh, your wedding, you have to play polka. Like it is, and it drives me insane. But people in Wisconsin also think that camouflage is appropriate to wear to a wedding as dress-up attire too. So,
yeah, she's like, "Oh, so you guys are big in Chicago? Sheboygan, very big in Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
What is the name of his band?
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in probably 15 years. I give up.
The Kenosha Kickers.
Yes. Which, that's only like 20 miles from me. But that's where Buck and his wife are staying tonight after the game in Sheboygan.
Nice.
So, they're now connected to Home Alone forever.
Yeah, they are. Somehow. I guess 6 degrees of Home Alone.
Right. We'll have to ask him if he checked out the Kenosha Kickers while he was in Sheboygan.
Yeah. R.I.P. John Candy.
Still one of the best. A freaking legend right there.
John Candy or Chris Farley? Who do you got?
Oh, I got to go with Candy because he has the longevity versus Farley. But if Farley would have had the same longevity that Candy did, I think Farley may have outdone him. Pure improv-wise, Farley had him outclassed. But overall talent-wise, I still think Candy kind of had him. Just because he could go all over the place. Who's Harry Crumb is a terrible movie, but is one of my favorite movies.
Well, so I heard somebody say, because, traditionally, comedic actors transition really well into drama, more so than drama transitions into comedy, because you're either funny or you're not, period. And so people who are funny, like, they know how to make people laugh, so they're already acting, even in stand-up bits and whatnot. Yeah. And somebody had said, if Chris Farley had lived long enough, he would probably be one of the best dramatic actors in Hollywood today. Like, he would have made that transition to a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, although Adam Sandler is still doing Grown Ups, so I don't know.
I'm trying to think. God, I can't think of his name. I can picture his face. The guy that played Capote.
Oh yes, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I could see that's where I could see Farley kind of transitioning into that type of actor.
Because even in Tommy Boy, there were moments where he had a lot of vulnerability and he kind of acted a little bit. It wasn't just all slapstick. So right. I think he showed that range early on. And then, of course, he did Black Sheep and Beverly Hills Ninja, which was awful. But I will say this about John Candy. I love Cool Runnings. It's one of my, again, I can watch Cool Runnings over and over. But that said, I think Tommy Boy is better than anything John Candy ever did.
Yes, Tommy Boy, hands down, is probably one of the funniest movies ever. Yep. That's a top 10 for me. For as far as like funny movies go, that's probably even a top 5 for me. Just because that movie from start to finish is freaking hilarious. Like the whole, is that for me? No, son, that's for me.
Yeah, she's like a 10. But no, I think that everyone gives props to planes, trains, and automobiles, which I think is really overrated because I didn't love that movie. If I was going to say, hey, Wayne, you're representing John Candy, you got to put up your best film up against Tommy Boy, I would probably go Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck was probably some of his best work. I don't know. The Great Outdoors with him and Dan Aykroyd was pretty funny. But it's like I said, for me, and I don't know, for whatever reason, Who's Harry Crumb, I always loved. And most people would probably not even put it in his top 10 movies.
My favorite character in Who's Harry Crumb was the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I don't know his real name.
Yes.
But he was fantastic.
He's like a convicted sex offender.
I know he is.
Like a convicted pedophile, too. Like, I was like, really? The guy was a pretty funny actor, but whatever.
And you know what's funny is when I think of him, obviously Ferris Bueller's Day Off is what you first think of him as Ed Rooney, right? But then the number 2 movie I always think of him, and again, younger crowd, they're going to be out of Howard the Duck.
Oh, I forgot he was in Howard the Duck. I was thinking the, what is it, Mom and Dad Go to Mars or whatever it's called.
Oh, no, blech.
No, I'm not saying the movie was good,
yeah,
but he was in that as well. He was the husband in that one. I'm pretty sure it was him.
I don't trust this kid any further than I can throw him. With your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't be throwing anybody.
That guy, and there again, he's one of those people that's like, he was never going to be a star actor, but he was always good in the roles he was given. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just those people that are that thrive in those underdog roles where they're going to be they're always going to be the sidekick and never the main character.
Yep.
Because I was trying to think who else there was. David Spade. I'm just kidding.
Although David Spade did star as Joe Dirt, and so he was the lead there, and he was also the lead in Dickie Roberts, which is kind of underrated.
I will agree. Dickie Roberts is pretty underrated.
That's Knuckin' Futz.
But then what about Joe Dirt 2?
Okay, yeah, no, we can forget about that one. Just like Major League 2, we can forget about it.
Right. Let's make sure it never happened.
But
I've got the poo on me.
An actor, though, who I've seen in supporting roles that absolutely crushes, but anytime I've seen him in a leading role, he's trash, is Paul Giamatti.
Yes, absolutely. Another one, a great supporting actor. I always thought the same thing, kind of too, and he's mostly a director now. Jon Favreau was kind of the same way too. Always a great supporting actor.
Yeah. So, although I will say, when we talk about some of the funniest movies ever made, another underrated, nobody knows about it, is the movie Made with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. I watched that movie. I just laugh the entire movie at Vince Vaughn. His character is so great.
I don't think I've ever seen that one, so now we're gonna have to watch that one because there again, that goes back to the whole kind of swingers, pipeline.
This was the follow up to Swingers, and it's so hilarious because basically what it is this old mafioso guy. He gives the job to Jon Favreau to be a bodyguard in New York, and he's like, "Well, can I bring Vince Vaughn along? 'Cause that's his friend." The guy's like, "I don't like him," but he ends up bringing him along, and just Vince Vaughn screws up everything.
I mean, kind of like his late stage acting career.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, because he can't play anything other than himself.
No, he's the epitome of why actors get pigeonholed because he's only got really one style. Yeah. His last good movie was Couples Retreat, in my opinion.
And even that was not good. Yeah.
No.
I was talking about Dodgeball the other day, because I hated him in Dodgeball. I don't even like the movie Dodgeball, really. But Ben Stiller carries that movie as, was it White? What's his name?
Whitey.
Isn't it Badman? White Badman or something like that?
Whitman.
Oh, Whitman.
White Whitman.
Oh, is that okay?
I think it's White Whitman. Now I got to look it up. But see, I always I love that movie. Or is it Walt Whitman?
Walt Whitman?
No, Walt Whitman's is a poet.
Yes, I know. But no, it's funny. Yeah, I think I've said at least once a month, at least I have to say, nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
I say that every time I cut myself, I say that. Well, White Goodman.
Goodman, okay.
I just like it because, our coach is Mike LaFleur for the Packers, and Dodgeball gave me the cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur. So that's why I yell at the TV every time he makes a terrible call. What do we got right now? Oh, go figure, the Packers are losing.
Yeah.
17-14. Buck's prediction's going to come true, and I'm going to punch him in the jejunum.
Yeah, Jared Goff. Don't sleep on him.
The thing is, and I said this I actually went on a Detroit Lions podcast and kind of guest spoke there. And I said, and the Lions fans didn't laugh at me, but everybody else did. I said, there's something different about this Lions team. There's a swagger to them that they've never had. Like, they hold their head up no matter what. Like I said, Dan Campbell is not going to have a great year this year, but he's instilling what he wants in Detroit. I said, don't be surprised if you guys are contending for a playoff spot next year.
Yeah, could be.
So, I mean, so far all my predictions are right. Zach Wilson is terrible. He's going to continue to be terrible. So that's my only prediction I've made so far. I take that back. I said Mac Wilson was going to be trashed because I was always saying Zach and Mac are going to be trashed, but I completely changed my opinion after watching Mac Jones all preseason. I was like, the kid's going to be a good game manager, and that's what Belichick likes. The kid's going to be good.
I think it's impressive the further back you can go making a prediction, like those really long con predictions, right? When they come true. That's really so when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I made the prediction that came true that is still to this day, it's the best. I said that someday I would be the greatest living human being, and it came true.
I used to, when way back in the day before Bonds was like suspected of doing roids, like I was that person that like I always had at that time. The Brewers were in the American League and the Giants were in obviously the National League, and I was a huge fan of Will Clark because I loved his swing. So like the Giants were always my second favorite team, and always kind of had a place in my heart. So obviously I was pretty pumped when Barry Bonds signed with the Giants. And then like I just remember there was one game, and me and my dad were watching. It was when the Cubs were still on WGN, and I'm like, oh, Bonds and Williams are coming up. Here comes back-to-back home runs. Bam, back-to-back home runs. My dad looks at me, what the hell? It was like 4 or 5 innings later. I said, oh, here they come again. Here comes another set of back-to-back home runs. Watch this. Bam, they hit back-to-back home runs. My dad's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, called it. Kobe.
Like, yeah, well, you're a kid. You probably think they're always going to hit home runs.
Right.
No, Will Clark actually is a great example for him. So everyone always says like Benintendi, like his swing, they're like, oh, it's very Griffey-like. I'm like, I actually think it's Will Clark-like.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It's smooth. It's very flat. Like, and that's what Will Clark's swing. Will Clark's swing was very flat, very much through the strike zone, and was made for good contact. Where Griffey still had a little bit of the upswing in his, which was a very smooth swing as well. But that's why he could hit for a ton more power because he had, well, as they would call it today, he had better launch angles.
Oh, okay. He was the inventor of launch angles.
So yeah, like because Will Clark obviously didn't do roids in his career because you could see like his stats. He got older, his stats went down. Like he could still get on base, but he wasn't hitting 30 home runs a year anymore either. So because it was for what, like probably about 6 years. Like so he signed with the Rangers. Rafael Palmeiro signed with the Orioles. Then the Rangers signed Palmeiro. Will Clark got signed by the Orioles. And then the Orioles traded for Palmeiro, and Will Clark went back to the Rangers.
Oh, that's weird.
It was just a weird dynamic with that one. But still, I would, if I could book one interview to talk baseball with, it would be Will Clark.
Really? I don't know.
And mostly because I want to talk about his swing.
Yeah, I don't know. So you're saying all time, or you're just saying like current?
Just like a current player that you could talk baseball with, just because they're getting, obviously I'd fanboy quite a bit because he's one of my favorite players growing up, and he played to me like he played the game the right way, even though everybody was freaking doing roids. And like I'm starting to come around on BC's comment on that about everybody was doing it, so, and it wasn't illegal, so why are they holding against them now?
Yeah, I'd probably go Greg Maddux.
I wouldn't, because I hate the Cubs and I hated the Braves in the 90s.
But I just feel like he's a cerebral player, probably a good interview. He's won a bunch of Cy Youngs.
Yeah. I mean, he probably would be.
Clemens would probably be fun, too.
Except until he roids out on you. Like, screw you, Wayne! Bam!
Is that what roiding out is? Rawr.
I'm guessing. Just have your heart starts beating really fast, you have a heart attack, and it explodes, die.
But not before you roar.
But not before you roar. You're all right, you gotta get a roar. If you're on roids, you ought to be roar!
Do the roar.
Do the roar. All right, we'll be right back. We've kind of gone over a little bit on a break. We will be back in 2 minutes.
What is your name? What? What is your name? Buck. Where did you get that shirt?
It's funny that you should ask that. Head over to manhourradio.com. You can pick up the shirt up. $15.
And according to Buck language, we back. Not we're back, or we are back. We back.
That is my least favorite of the commercial segments. Because when he says, funny you should ask that, well, what's funny about it? Funny means like it's a coincidence. There's nothing that ties that question to his answer.
You and your damn logic. It's Buck. The best part about that commercial is the kid talking just gibberish in the background. So I've determined, though, because Buck's kids are, 3 and 1. I think what they would really like for Christmas from Uncle Torry is a drum set. And I'm really thinking about buying one and sending it to them. And I would pay to have it pre-assembled so it's ready to go when it gets there.
Well, also one of those little megaphones that has the siren button on it.
Oh, get that for the 1-year-old and the drums for the 3-year-old. I mean, that would be great presents, Buck. What do you think? Cindy and you would love that. And then I guarantee they'd be like, hey, you're now about to become Uncle Torry, and we're dropping the kids off for 2 weeks.
With the toys.
With the toys. So, yeah. All right, so right now we Packers, Lions, halftime. 17-14, Packers not looking good again. At home opener. This is normally when they come out fired up. What are your thoughts on the first half, Wayne?
I think that we talked about it before the start of the game, and I like the Lions a lot. I like Jared Goff a lot. I think that he's very underrated. He threw for 330 yards in week 1. I think that Packers defense is going to allow him to throw for as many yards as he needs to throw for. I think he's got some protection there, right? Then they drafted Penei Sewell in the draft, and I think he's a monster. So you're not going to get any pass rush on him. But on the flip side, it is Aaron Rodgers. So I know he had a rough week 1, but he's a guy who I feel like can do anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers come out and win the second half 24-3 and just completely blow this one out of the water.
I would love to see that. I just don't like, just from kind of flipping back and forth, like when we go to break and stuff, like this team is just, it's a team without any desire. It's like, like they're flat. Like nobody's showing any heart right now. Like nobody's fired up. It's like they're going through the motions. So my new joke is that Aaron Rodgers came back only this year for the Packers, so them to go 1-17 and get the first pick.
But they're not going to take a quarterback with it, right? I guess they take Kayvon Thibodeau.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. When did Buck sneak in?
I haven't seen any comments come up. So what's that? Was
right.
Lighting it? Right
there. So Buck heard my comment. Hopefully Cindy didn't hear my comment about buying the kids a drum set and a megaphone for Christmas. Buck, by the way, I need your address.
He wasn't even on. He was just like, I feel a disturbance in the force.
He's like, Torry's talking about me. It's not good. River and Trip are going to get something that he's going to make me regret.
So what else we got? Any other comments in there? I mean, we went until
shop talk. We got shop talk. No, anything you guys want to talk about, bring up in the comments. Drew says, I think Rodgers did irreparable damage. Yeah. The thing is looking from it, not as a fan, but as a person, like the organization did him dirty. Like they basically quite literally told him to shut up and do the job. He's the quarterback when they went and drafted Jordan Love. Like to a guy that has made your organization probably hundreds of millions of dollars, if not into a billions. You don't really do that if you're like, we're all about the team here. Like you don't tell your quarterback, shut up and just play, let us do our job. My thing is somebody like that, and you guys may have a different opinion, somebody like that has shown loyalty to your club and has brought you a championship and has been a consistent winner. If you're going to draft the replacement, give them the heads up at least. Like to me, that's the least you can do. Be like, hey, just so you know, if this happens, this is what we're doing, and because we're doing it. I get it. The Packers run things like it's a business. However, you can run it like a business. Just don't run it like it's corporate America when it comes to that, where it's like, shut up and just do your job.
I do see both sides of it. Like, yes, it would be nice, just general courtesy to say, hey, listen, this is the direction we're going in the draft. We're going to be taking these people. We're not asking your advice on it, but we wanted to give you a heads up so you're not surprised when we take these guys. That would have been fine. I would have had no problem with that. But at the same time, I also feel like, me going to my boss and saying, hey, can you let me know before you hire somebody else? Like he should just say, I signed your check, shut up and do your job.
Right. But somebody that is going to be a Hall of Famer, like, and that's where I disagree. Like when you've been at a company for so many years, eventually you get that it's a courtesy that they're going to be like, hey, we know you're getting like Wayne, I know you're getting ready to retire in 3 years. We're going to bring your replacement on now, just so you know. And it's not a surprise. We're not trying to replace you, but we do want you to train him knowing you're going to leave eventually.
Right. Well, the reason it's called a courtesy and not a mandatory is because it's a courtesy and not a mandatory. So I understand, like, I'm a courteous guy. I probably would have given him a heads up, but at the same time, they aren't required to be courteous. So I kind of see both sides of it.
No, I don't. See, my thing on the Favre, like when it was Favre, I was completely on management side. So I was on the other side of the fence. Like I'm pretty much on Aaron's side on this one. With Favre, I was completely on management side because Favre had said, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm retired, I'm hanging it up. And then all of a sudden training camp starts and you're like, oh, yeah, I want to play now. And they're like, oh, we just spent the last 3 months instilling the offense around Aaron's skill set. You can come back, but you're not going to be the starter.
So you pulled a Michael Jordan, who was like, The players, we shouldn't have a salary cap, and the players should be allowed to make whatever they want and go wherever they want. And then he owns the Charlotte team now, and now he's like, hey, players, we should have a salary cap, and you shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere you want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's and that's the difference between Jordan as a player, Jordan as an owner.
Yeah. Well, anybody. I mean, again, you get a different point of view. I think that when you are adversarial towards one side, it's only because you haven't been on that side, or not only, but majority of the reasons because you haven't been on that side. So then once you get on that side, it gives you a whole new perspective, and all of a sudden you hate what you used to be, But that's why you see people don't like I always look at everything straight down the middle. I look at both sides. I approach things with logic. I mean, I don't know. I'm a rarity. Like I said, the greatest human being alive. I predicted it when I was 5.
See, there's been a lot of different things that I've been on both sides of, and I still tend to lean to the other side. But doing what I do now, I can't say that I still lean to that other side. Because that's a no-no then at that point. I mean, welcome to working in corporate America.
So like I was pro-union, but now unions are bad.
Right. Except I'm just still pretty pro. So, and that's like, apparently that was like a shocker to a bunch of people. I'm like, yeah, I was a union rep for years. And they're like, what? I'm like, all a union rep is the world's most underpaid lawyer or labor law lawyer. That's it.
Well,
thanks for being a union rep. Here's $50 a month.
On this, no, I always argue with people because, the people who are anti $15 minimum wage or whatever it is, right?
Right.
I always say, that's fine. You can be anti that for minimum wage. Let's have a nice discussion. Are you pro-union? No. So you want to have a really low minimum wage and you don't want to give the workers the ability to collectively bargain. So basically you're slave owners. You haven't quite graduated from the 1800s yet. It's like you either have to bump their pay or you have to give them the opportunity to bump their own pay.
Look, we have a new top fan right now.
Oh.
No comment?
Their
It's not
sister?
my sister. No, it's not my sister.
I don't know. She said you were hot. You live in Wisconsin. I don't know.
Wisconsin, not Alabama. Welcome to Alabama, where if you get divorced, you can still see them on the holidays.
That's right. Hey,
So
I lived in northern Maine, so
I don't know what that means.
living in northern Maine, it's like Alabama.
Oh, I was gonna be like, is it like Canada or something? Like you got moose and elk and like.
Why would I say something completely disjointed from what you just said?
I mean, because you like to be logical and make people think.
Today on Non Sequitur.
Like, did you have breakfast with Sasquatch?
I did not. I had breakfast in my car. I had 2 McDonald's burritos and 2 hash browns.
It's not so bad for you.
It is, but it's delicious.
As I'll be like, this weekend, I'm making corned beef hash with bacon and eggs. And guess what? I'm going to fry that all up in the bacon grease as my heart just explodes.
Hey, listen, you only live once. YOLO, right?
Right.
Basically, the Mr. Baseball line, right? And he says, a player's career is short enough, but I'm enjoying it.
Another solid, underrated sports movie in my book.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about that movie. That's a really good movie.
I remember going to the movie theater to watch that movie. What's this? This isn't my number. That's the number of home runs you're expected to hit this year.
It's like, Elliot, have a seat, pal. Hey, Skip, I know I haven't been raking the ball lately, but Elliot, can I finish a sentence in my own goddamn office? Hey, okay. Now, this Davis kid's a real thing. I know,
what, Frank Thomas is in that movie with him.
Yeah, Frank Thomas is Ricky Davis.
Yep. Which just is like, that's the most generic sports name I think that they could ever come. Ricky Davis, like Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
John Smith.
John Smith's going to be my replacement. Who the hell is John Smith?
That'd be a good question. The best sports name in a movie ever.
Oh, That would be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, because right off the bat, I think Crash Davis is great.
Rick Vaughn's a good one.
Is it?
Forget the curveball, Ricky. Throw me a heater.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Well, I'm trying to think. What other ones have we got?
I mean, in Any Given Sunday, LT is called Shark.
And he cuts a car in half with his saw.
Like a circular saw, which apparently can cut through metal.
And just, I think it's like a concrete saw too. It's like something that shouldn't even be going through metal. If not, it should have a ton of water.
It's like, all right. So apparently he couldn't find his grinding wheel.
What about Dottie Henson?
Yeah, I guess that's all right.
Jimmy Dugan. For the era, it fits the era perfectly.
Let's see what else we got. Kyle Watson, right above the rim. Sidney Dean's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Flight and Willie. There you go.
White men can't jump.
Right. Who were the two guys they played at the end? The Venice Beach Legends.
I can picture the faces.
They reference them several times throughout the movie.
Yeah. Isn't it Dr. J and somebody?
No. One of them does have actually, they both have nicknames, I think.
All right, I give up.
Eddie the King Farouk and Duck Johnson.
Oh, I'm thinking what their actual name was.
No. I don't know who the actors were.
I'm trying to think of actually I thought they were ex-NBA players.
Oh, maybe. I know that Flight and Willie were Kyle Watson. That was Dwayne Martin was Willie. And then Flight was from The Air Up There. He was Saleh's brother.
All right. What other random sports stuff do we got? The Duck. See, Drew had it out there.
The Duck. There you go, Drew. He knew what I was talking about. The King and the Duck.
See, she came back at. She said she's not back with chicks. I like what I like. Fat guys in Packer gear.
Fat guy in a little coat.
Fat guy in little coat. All right. So, anybody else got anything else? Otherwise, we're just going to end the show tonight.
What else we got? Any other sports movie stuff? Huh? I can talk about Recasted. I just did my new Recasted podcast. Check it out. Recasted.
Ooh.
We take classic movies and we recast them with modern day actors and actresses. Yesterday dropped the newest episode, which was The Rock, 1996, with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Highly underrated movie.
Yeah.
We
recasted that. There was a bit of a debate. So for the Nicolas Cage role, Stanley Goodspeed, right? My co-host went with Adam Driver. And I went with John Krasinski.
Krasinski's the hot name right now. He reminds me of a buffer version of Nick Cage.
Yeah, he's a little bit too buff. He could slim down a little bit, but he's got that kind of that energy, right? Nick Cage has that energy in it. The Sean Connery role, he went with Pierce Brosnan, which I get it, the James Bond connection. Yeah. I went a little bit younger. I went with Idris Elba. Yeah, a little bit more of an action star. And then where we really got, I think, on the... Who is it? Ed Harris.
Ed Harris?
Right?
I was trying to think. I'm like, God, who did you pick to play Ed Harris?
He went with Damian Lewis from Billions, who I like, but I don't love in that role. And I went with Bruce Willis.
Did he go with Damian Lewis just because he was Major Winters?
Maybe.
I don't see Damian Lewis doesn't fit that role at all.
I don't think he's intense enough.
No. And who did you go with?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce, I could see, but even he might be a little too, because he might be too gruff for the role. Like,
I don't know.
Because Ed Harris kind of has that moral dilemma in it. Like, is this really going to outweigh the for the greater good? And that's what I'm trying to think, who would really fit that type of role. Wayne G would.
Yeah, that'd be Ed Harris.
I mean, Ed Harris did do Milk Money, so.
I don't think I've seen Milk Money.
With Meg Ryan, where the kids like try to hire she's a prostitute or something. The kids
really? No.
It's like your stepmom or something. You'll have to look up Milk Money once and see if it's streaming anywhere.
Yeah, we were talking about how prior to this movie, Ed Harris hadn't really done anything. All the stuff that he did that was big came after The Rock. But Apollo 13 and Radio, Pollock,
Armageddon
stuff. Was he in Armageddon?
He was. Was he?
No,
was
I think
he in Armageddon?
You're thinking of Apollo 13.
Was it that? I thought he was in that one, or
Armageddon was Billy Bob Thornton was the Houston guy.
What was the other one? No, it wasn't. I was thinking maybe Deep Impact, but I think you're right. I think I am thinking Apollo 13.
Yeah, he was the Houston guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got for movie stuff. We got an hour 57 into it, and that's pretty good.
Wait. Oh, I forgot. Another movie he was in, highly, highly underrated. Another one of my favorite war movies, Enemy at the Gates.
I didn't like that one.
He was the German sniper.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that one.
The reason I liked it is because they stepped outside the box. They showed a kid hanging because he was a traitor. That's unheard of in a movie. Just one, to show a child die at all in a movie is rare. To show a child hanging doesn't happen. And to me, it was a bold move cinematography wise. Let me put my beret on and we'll get my cigarette. That was a bold move cinematography wise. And they well played. It was played out well for them.
Yeah. See how softly he panned across the landscape into that shot.
As they came and they looked around, and there was the child just swinging. Because he liked his chocolate.
That's a fun note to end the show on.
Right. Let's just talk about child murder. And demonetized. What are these guys talking about? I don't know. To me, it was just a bold. I just liked the movie. I'm a big fan too of Ron Perlman, so I liked him there. Joseph Fiennes in it. There's actually a ton of really big names in that movie.
I think my movie like that, a favorite that has a lot of big names, and again, nobody's really seen it, is The Paper with Michael Keaton and Robert Duvall and who else? Glenn Close is it? Randy Quaid, Marissa Tomei.
My other one, funny wise, is Be Cool. Everybody knows Get Shorty. Everybody liked Good Shorty, but nobody really knows about Be Cool. That was the sequel to that.
You see, I didn't like either one of those.
I just think it's funny watching The Rock play a gay guy. That's freaking hilarious. It shows his range. The Rock knew he was going to be bigger.
I guess.
All right.
My favorite Rock performance has to be Walking Tall.
Yes. Another great movie. The Rundown I like.
Yep.
That's another really good movie. But wait, G, quick before we get ready to end the show here tonight, why don't you tell them once again, where we can find you and how we can harass you.
That's right. bellyupsports.com. You can check out all my blogs. Just check out basketball. I write almost half the basketball articles on the site. And then at SportsInfinity5 on Twitter, you can hit me up, and any questions, concerns, or suggestions that you have, I am all ears.
All right. And with that, we are out for the night, gentlemen and ladies. Man Over Nation. Rise up.